Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and today might actually be a pretty banger day. A day that should have happened a long god darn time ago. Now ladies and gentlemen, see me narrowly avoid that YouTube yellow Dolan sign because apparently saying some naughty words might be too much for the platform. Give it like 2 minutes, alright? Then you'll hear my real thoughts on wild scenarios. Ladies and gentlemen, TikTok is an app that I think genuinely makes people stupid, like most social media services. Now, if it's one thing that I genuinely am surprised that people don't understand the concept of, would you let a government employee, okay? Somebody whose cell phone probably contains sensitive information have any social media app on their phone? Forget TikTok. Would you let them have Facebook, Twitter, okay? Grindr, Tinder, whatever on their device? Would you? Okay? I'm genuinely asking, would you feel comfortable if your senator or somebody you voted in probably containing some pretty sensitive information on their device was just downloading any application that had some questionable security practices? I'm probably going to guess the way that I just put it for you, no. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Canada, for all the mistakes my country makes, I love it, and sometimes it makes the right choice, where it actually jumps onto, I guess, quote-unquote, the bandwagon of banning TikTok. Now, again, when we're using the term banning TikTok, we're not talking about banning it for everyone else, okay? I definitely will say there's a big difference. We should not ban applications for everybody in the country, okay? That would make us on the same level as countries that ban the internet for their own people, like China, for instance. We should allow free, unfettered access to whatever you want to download, obviously within reason, nothing illegal, like, anything child-related, so on and so forth, you get the point. But when it comes to applications and websites, I think we should all be allowed to access the free and open internet, right? Now, when it comes to government employees and when they get special devices, like for instance, if you work for a government or you work for, a company, they'll give you a device that's typically locked down, right? It'll have their own applications, their own messaging framework so that, of course, whenever you use them, you'll always be spied on, okay? Like if you ever get a phone from a government or you get a phone from a big company and you're texting your coworkers or calling them, it's all being spied upon, okay? It's literally all rootkitted. It's all being spied on by a security firm within the company. That's how it works, okay? So obviously, when Canada chooses to ban TikTok, they're not banning it for the average person. I would never condone that. But for the government employees hosting sensitive information, yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to use any form of social media service. Their phone should literally only be allowed to make calls, texts, emails to other government employees. And yes, all of that should be strictly monitored and audited. So somebody's not sending out, creepy messages or leaking government information to some third party. That is not only a crime, that's treasonous, and that person should be put in prison for that, blatant bullshit. But of course, TikTok doesn't necessarily agree into it. Now, even the US is pushing some federal mandates around this too. Ladies and gentlemen, the Biden administration ordered federal agencies 30 days to ensure they don't have TikTok on federal devices, and to ensure that contractors meet the same standard within 90 days. TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, has long maintained that it does not share data with the Chinese government and that its data is not held in China. You know how quickly they've not, told anybody that, ladies and gentlemen, it's not that the Chinese nationals can't come from China to the US, the server farms here, and access things. It's insane. Now, I think it's wild when I see actual lies being straight up spread around or a little bit of misinformation straight up from TikTok comms. A US ban on TikTok is a ban on the export of American culture and values to the billion-plus people who use the service worldwide. We're disappointed to see this rushed piece of legislation move forward, despite its considerable negative impact on the free speech rights of I hate this whole thing about, oh no, my free speech is getting destroyed. I'm getting rammed in the ass when it comes to my free speech. No, there's nothing free speech about this TikTok. I love how they frame this as like they're banning TikTok entirely. They never said that. They're not banning it off the App Store or the Google Play Store for everybody, just for government agencies. It's interesting to me how horny TikTok is when government employees around the world are getting their access to TikTok removed. Why? I get that there's probably no spying going on. I totally, I'll believe whatever you say. But then why care so much when a government employee doesn't get access to your social media app for the right reasons? This is the same country, this heralds from the same country that has some of the most tightest, virgin gripped internet control that you would ever imagine.
Also, I think it's really, really rich that coming from a Chinese application, a Chinese-based service, that they're now suddenly talking about free speech. Okay, like, can we just like admit the absurdity in the situation? The one country where like looking up just basic things, the basic access to free information isn't even accessible. This is the country that's trying to police the world on that. Like, get out of here. This is just insane.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've looked at TikTok before, and generally TikTok doesn't, as far as we know, do anything more than Facebook or Twitter or any of these services. Which is why at the beginning of this video I said I'm totally cool with every social media service being banned off of government smartphones. Look, if a government employee gets a smartphone, I expect them to be doing work and nothing else on this. No, you don't get to advertise your platform or do whatever through your government devices. Get a personal device for it, okay? Tons of people in this business, in the industry, in government offices have a personal device and a government device. Keep shit completely separate. Now, of course, if you look at TikTok's privacy policy, their TOS, which not many people look at, but if you look at some cases, you can see that they do collect information, which a lot of people have brought up as sort of like an own to say that TikTok is spying. And I want to kind of, get rid of as much misinformation as possible. Yes, TikTok collects certain information about the devices you use, such as which platform you're on, your IP address. Obviously, if you're uploading from anywhere, they're gonna know your IP, your user agent, your mobile carrier, your time zone settings. Yes, these are all publicly provided pieces of information every time you interact with any app. This is not something TikTok exclusive. They're identifiers for advertising purposes. Every app does this. Model of your device, the device system, network type, device IDs, your screen resolution and operating system, app and file names and types. And of course, depending on which operating system you're using, iOS and Android, they have limitations to what directories they can get into. The sandboxing prevents them from looking all over your phone versus just whatever the OS allows them at their level. This is not like wild and like freaky. Every application does this. I would argue Facebook does this and a whole heck of a lot more. The only reason TikTok is ever brought up into the forefront is this is a completely foreign application. This is a Chinese application, and obviously the Chinese have not been the greatest country when it comes to freedoms and internet rights. They're a country that very openly spies on their citizens. And of course, given that every single private company in China is backdoored by the Chinese government themselves, all of that data that flies to their country is also open to being accessed by the Chinese government. This is not a state secret. This is not some conspiracy theory. They literally have laws for national security reasons to dig any data they want. It's one of the reasons why I don't play a lot of games on my host operating system that use Chinese-based anti-cheats, because I am literally giving a Chinese anti-cheat kernel level access into my computer, and who knows what's going on with that information back home, or who knows if they're meeting up their security practices and, one day they get hacked and suddenly all out of nowhere, my computer is now liable to actually being attacked. Now, of course, even when it comes to Canada, it's funny how TikTok literally talks about this being abuse of state power. Literally, they said the US government has been overstretching the concept of national security and abusing state power to suppress other countries' companies. How rich is that? That China, the country that bans every foreign website from operating in their country unless you get rid of everything Tiananmen Square related or anything critical of the party, better not have any Winnie the Poohs. Yeah, that country is talking about other countries restricting their companies from getting in. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not rules for thee, none for me, any of that BS. This is literally, you're getting karma. You're getting what you give to the rest of the world. You're not entitled access to government employees' devices in other countries through your social media app, and vice versa. There is no way the Chinese government allows Twitter to be installed directly onto any government devices. They have their own version of Twitter, and even if they do have Twitter allowed, like to a government employee, it's often through another device that's not linked to their actual sensitive devices. There is no reason why anybody should treat this like a big deal. China is getting what they absolutely fucking deserve. Now, when it comes to governments restricting access, just to remind you, even a coffee shop in Canada, Tim Hortons, a national like icon, if you will, literally was caught by the government red-handed, okay, in scanning user devices every few minutes. If you don't remember what happened with Tim Hortons, a Canadian coffee company got slapped on the wrist because they were literally checking every few minutes the location of an actual user. The location data was used to track every time users entered or left a Tim Hortons competitor, a major sports venue, or their home or workplace. The Tim Hortons said it used the data to determine whether users switched to another coffee chain and perform other analysis. Now, of course, that's purely business-related reasons, but it's also just creepy. I think it's great that we live in a world now where there are agencies and there are systems designed and there's a bigger focus on privacy. Ever since we entered the smartphone era, user privacy has been tossed out the window. And it's been tossed out the window for over a decade. And it's only recently, with a lot of these big companies out there like Google and Apple, finally being forced to look into the privacy metrics of the devices they sell. If you want real digital privacy, real smartphone privacy, using an Android or an iOS device isn't helping. You know, you go to a Linux-based device with hardware controls. Great channel for that, Mental Outlaw. I think he has a few reviews, Kenny, of like actual devices. I've ordered a couple just so I can look into that for future content. But the general idea is we live in a world where mobile devices are not entirely like private. Okay, and a lot of the applications we download, while they seem nice and innocent on the front, oh, I'm just uploading a goofy video, or I'm just, putting my face through an AI app for a filter, you are ultimately giving up a whole heap of personal, private, sensitive information just for absolutely no gain, in my opinion. But of course, TikTok getting banned from government devices, just to round it back, is a good thing. And it should be a thing that isn't contested by anybody. If you think this is an attack on free speech, then you need to go back to a fucking school because you completely lack the education to understand what free speech is about. Free speech does not include any government employee, anybody with sensitive information or sensitive access to important parts of the country, to be freely installing applications that may or may not be spyware. Here's the actual logic behind any spyware. If you think even 1% of it could spy on you, don't even bother interacting with it, okay? Live your life in paranoia if you work in a high, if you work in any, job like that. Anyways, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.